The mass popular animus to Wall Street was diffused by Obama's claim he had saved, quote, the economy from catastrophe by channeling $20 trillion into the bankers' pockets, but not a penny into anyone whose home was being foreclosed. Constitutional rights were savaged by Obama's defensive military trials, Bush-era tortures, expansion of arbitration, executive power, including the assumption of presidential power to assassinate any U.S. citizen without any trial. While legal organizations fought the good fight for civil liberties, the vast majority of liberals were notable by their absence from any sustained democratic movements upholding the rights of 40 million Americans under currently police surveillance, especially Muslim citizens and immigrants, and all those who complain or challenge or protest anything. They chose not to embrace their Democratic president. They placed their re-election of a police state Democrat over and above their putative defense of constitutional rights. No mass marches for civil liberties. No protests against Homeland Security. No campus-wide free speech movements against the abrogation of the right to criticize Israel. For decades, the trade union confederations and senior citizens movements defended Medicare and Medicaid, with Obama in office openly declaring and preparing major reductions and regressive clauses on coverage, raising age qualification and indexing. There's no significant protest movement. Programs which, for the better part of a century, like Social Security, or a half century, Medicare and Medicaid, were considered untouchable, are now, according to Obama, quote, on the table to be gutted, to be reformed, to be adjusted. The trade union millionaire bosses hire a small army of campaign workers and raise over $150 million to re-elect a president who promised to make huge cuts in medical programs for pensioners and the poor. Obama has legitimated the regressive social positions of the far right, while the Democratic Party neutralized by any trade union opposition or mobilization. Last but not least, the Obama regime has co-opted progressive liberal social critics via backdoor support. In the name of opposing Romney, the progressive pundits like Noam Chomsky and Daniel Ellsberg end up in alliance with Wall Street and Silicon Valley. End quote. Your thoughts. I'm Gary Null, 888-874-4888, 888-874-4888. We'll take your calls now. Let's say hello to Ron from New York. Hi, Ron, you're on.
The thing I understand, you're an intellectual thinker. You have intellectual thinkers come on. The design of this country from the beginning of the times of the founding fathers when Columbus landed on here, this is the design to keep certain people down so other people can get wealthy. By putting Mitt Romney in there and saying that that's going to turn the tables around, I really doubt it, because he will initiate, and he has no fear of saying his feelings, and he has no fear of lying and then turning it around. You got to continue with the situation like it is right now until we can force. We have to, as individual people in this government, the citizens, we have to force certain things to happen. By replacing one evil with another evil, if that's your ideology, it's not going to consume a change that we need right now.
Okay, but Ron, I'm suggesting not to support either of these lesser evils. I'm suggesting that you will never see any change. You have seen no change in any movement. You've seen the destruction of the one movement. You've seen the infiltration. You've seen the agent provocateurs in the Wall Street movement, the Occupy Wall Street movement. And who exactly, Ron? Let's be clear on this. Was it Mitt Romney who had national surveillance and Homeland Security photographing every person in the Occupy movement, getting retinal scans done so they could identify them? Who exactly was it? Mitt Romney, who said that every one of 40 million Americans who protest, including those who do animal protests, those who actually find abuses against animals and bring it to our attention, should now be called terrorists, and the FBI should put them on a terror list? Who was that, Ron? Who exactly, Ron, caused the drones to kill innocent civilians, 20 civilians for every one of the terrorists? Who was it who gave $20 trillion, the largest amount of money in history that would have fixed all of our infrastructure, de-ghettoized America? Who was it who didn't allow the minimum wage to be increased? Who was it who said if you protest against this or any corporate policy, you are now a terrorist because you're now an agent provocateur? So if you're trying to tell me that by having Obama stay in office, as you're suggesting, that we then can work for change within that administration, I'd like to know how that's possible. But I'm suggesting get the people who do not do these things. Get the third-party people. Get the people who are not merely intellectual but are humanistic and compassionate and true people of moral value who would get rid of the Homeland Security Act, get rid of the Patriot Act, get rid of the National Defense, get rid of the Federal Reserve, get rid of the 18 major agencies, get us out of 980 bases around the world, reestablish proper diplomatic and humanistic and cultural ties with the nations we have been at war with, so you have some form of lasting peace, to close down detention, to close down the secret sites, to stop enhanced interrogation torture that are done in Bagram and other places, and to no longer give banks the money, to no longer give Wall Street the money, to no longer give the power to the insurance companies, the hospital association, the drug companies, the oil cartel, the gas cartel, to promote hydrofracking, to despoil our environment. That's your man. Now, if you're telling me that I should accept every possible human right violation, every possible injustice, that somehow he just needs 4 more years to perfect his style, I'm going to say, why not Jill Stein? Why not Rocky Anderson? Why not Gary Johnson? Why not some of the people who have shown that they wouldn't have done any of this, have never done any of this, have no record of doing this, and would dismantle the existing system? It is supporting people who could dismantle the system, who have a political base, who may only have 3% today or 15%, but in the next election cycle could have a majority and offer an absolute challenge to the existing power base. That's what we're suggesting. I appreciate your call and your thoughts, Ron. Thank you for calling in. And let's say hello to Connie from Chelsea. Hi, Connie, your turn.
Hi, I'm about to go down, and I actually don't know, and I won't know until I'm in the booth if I'm going to do Jill Stein or Obama. But what I do want to do is hook up with this movement afterwards.